Good afternoon, welcome to Viscount Leisure. My name's Charles and I'm going to take you on a video around this eldest Avante 554 caravan. We'll have a look how everything connects to the outside, how we plumb everything in, and then we'll do the similar thing on the inside, make sure that we know how everything operates and what everything does inside as well. We'll then finish off with a quick look at the motor mover, just to make sure we know how that operates as well. We'll start at the door, our way into our caravan, okay? Provides you with two full sets of keys with the van. With this van, nice and simple, you've got one key, does everything, and we've also got your hitch lock keys as there as well. So the way this works, in order to open the door, okay, the key goes in the lock and turns, and that opens the door as one would expect. We can then pull the door all the way open and it clips back onto the clip attached to the side of the caravan. In order to open that again, we have a lever that we press and that releases the door from the side of the caravan, but that's there to hold it back to stop it flopping around in the wind, X, Y and Z. All right. We do have what we call a split door, or a stable door if you like, on this caravan. So what we can do is separate that by using this lever here, and we can lock that back into place, and that's why we can lock our kids or our pets or whatever we want inside the van, and still get some airflow going through. All right, the way we undo that is we quite simply lift that back up and round it comes, and we lock that back into place, just lifting that lever so it locks into place on the door. When we're inside the van and we want to lock the door from the inside so nobody can get in, we push that up to the red position at the top. That locks the door from the inside, and then to open it from the inside as well, like any door, push the handle down, that releases the lock and subsequently opens the door. We have a window in the door here as well, so at night time when we want to black the cabin out, we have a blackout blind that we can pull down, and that will stop the light coming in, so we get a good night's sleep. And of course we've also got our bin located on the door of the caravan here as well. Right, moving on round, you can see we have a leg sticking down at that corner. We have 4 corner steadies on this caravan, one in each corner. What that's there to do is to steady the caravan when we're inside it, stop it vibrating around and rocking around when we're inside. These are not levelers, so what we do when we get to site is we locate our caravan onto our pitch, and then what we need to do is level our caravan. That's front to back, okay? Most pitches you'll find will be level left to right. If not, you can look at some leveling wedges to do so. But generally, using a spirit level, using our jockey wheel, you'll see on the front here, we can wind the caravan up and we can wind the caravan down. All right, that will lower or raise the nose of the caravan to get ourselves level. Now you can either use a spirit level on the A-frame or just inside the door of your caravan to make sure we're getting ourselves level front to back. It's important we do so, not only for your own comfort when you're inside, but also for the running of all the different appliances inside the caravan. They do like to be level, especially our fridges and things like that. So it's important that we do get ourselves level. Once we're our level, we've leveled ourselves on the jockey wheel, we're then in a position then to lower our steadies, all right, our corner steadies on each side. Inside your front locker here, you'll see you have a hand winder, okay, that goes into the side of the caravan there, and we can wind our legs up and down using the hand winder. You can also get a power drill attachment, just to make life a little bit easier. But once we're level, we then go around all 4 corners, put those down, and then we're nice and steady. We mustn't try and level it on the corner steadies. They're not designed to take that kind of pressure. You can damage the underside of your caravan, so please don't do that. Level on the jockey wheel and then put your corner steadies down afterwards. All right. Okay, front locker here, you can see we've got an LPG sticker on the front that depicts this is our gas locker. So that's where we keep our gas. You've got room for 2 gas bottles in this caravan here, and it is set up for running on propane. 2 different types of gas that the van can run on, propane and butane. We're set up for propane here, reason being the preferred gas because it has a lower freezing point. So that is why we prefer that. So anyway, I've got my test gas bottle on here, as you can see, plumbed in. We've got the caravan running up to make sure everything's working correctly for you. So let's go in here and have a quick look. When we're traveling, we must make sure that any gas bottles we've got in the locker are fully strapped in using these straps here and into the frame, okay? And also when we're traveling, we must make sure that our gas bottle is switched off. Now the way we can switch it off is we have a nut on the top of the gas bottle that we screw all the way down to shut and open all the way to open. All right, so when we get to site, you'll find that will be shut. So open that up, and that will allow the gas to flow freely through from the gas bottle through our pigtail here, or our gas pipe going into the side, into the regulator on the side of the van here. That attaches into our gas bottle via this hand tight wheel here, okay? So no need for any spanners on this one. There's a rubber seal at the end of that which locks into the bottle. But this is a hand tight wheel, no spanner required, but it is on an opposite thread when we're putting this in, all right? So it's not lefty loosey righty tighty, it's going to be the other way around, all right? So just nip that up, hand tight, and we're ready to go. The gas will then travel up down the pipe through to this bulkhead regulator here. What that does is regulate the pressure of the gas into the working pressure for the van. Okay, and then we're in a position then, once we've opened our gas bottle, to use our gas facilities inside the van. Of course, I say room for 2 bottles here, so when one runs out you can switch over to the other, but you will need to get yourself a gas bottle, all right, because you'll need that to operate the van properly. You'll also see there we've got some grey pipe. That is your waste pipe, all right, so that's how we get our grey water out of the van into our waste master. We'll look where that goes in a minute. And you've also got one of our hitch covers in there as well, to cover your hitch up when you're on site or not using your van. Moving around, okay, you can see here we've got our test aqua roll set up. You will need one of these to get water into your van, okay. So when you get to site, you'll wheel your aqua roll to your service point or to your nearest water point. You'll fill it up, roll it back, and then you'll get your whale water pump. All right, you can see that submerged into the barrel here. Drop that into the barrel, push that into the side of the van. Just lock it into place with this so that doesn't go anywhere. Okay, and we're then in a position to start turning on water pumps inside the van. But firstly, we need to get that filled up and have that inside the van ready to go. 2 types of power here. You can see we've got our test leisure battery on there at the moment. You will need a leisure battery for the van in order to make it operate properly. We put one on just so that we can test everything's working. The reason we don't provide batteries with them is unfortunately we can't warranty a second-hand battery, so it's always worth having a new battery. That way you know when you come to use your motor mover or something like that, that you have the correct power required to do so. So this battery here is providing the 12 volt power, and this lead here coming in is going to provide our 240 volt power coming into the van. So what that will do is allow us to use our domestic plug sockets inside the van, use our boiler, fridge, things like that on mains electric, rather than worrying about gas and 12 volt systems. So you'll need to get yourself a mains lead, all right, very important. When we do have our mains lead plugged in, please don't have it coiled up on the floor. Have it flaked out like you can see we have here. The reason for that is they can get very hot if curled up, especially on a summer's day, all right, and can melt as well. So please make sure that you are flaking them out, even if you do it underneath the van so it doesn't look untidy. You can shut this as well, all right. You have a little cutout, so we can shut that into place, all right, and stop people fiddling around with things if you don't want them to. Here are our fridge vents. This is where our fridge is behind there. Okay, nothing you need to do with those, just so that you know what they are. The fridge uses heat to cool, so it's pulling the cold air in from the bottom and dispensing the hot air out from the top there. Here you can see we've got 2 grey outlets. That's our grey waste outlet that we plug out, put our waste master that you'll need underneath here to collect our grey water, and the grey pipe that's in your front locker, you can cut that down to the right length, and that is designed to fit perfectly in these. You've got one coming from the kitchen, one coming from the bathroom, so that's all your grey waste from your sink and your shower. Once that's full, you then take that to your service point, empty those and bring them back ready to go again. Here we have the toilet side of things from outside. Okay, we've got 2 doors for that. The first one is a flush tank. Okay, so we have a separate tank for our toilet flush water. The reason we do that is we add a pink chemical to that water. We don't want to be putting pink chemicals into our fresh water coming in, hence why we have a separate tank. So you'll need some pink chemical, all right, so that you'll dilute that with water. You can buy it in the shop, and that will tell you what to dilute it with. But do make sure that you've got something that you can fill this up with, like a little watering can or something along those sort of lines. It's very useful just to make sure that we can keep that topped up, all right. So the pink chemical and water goes into there, and that is purely just for the toilet flush, all right. Obviously we flush the toilet and it's got to go somewhere. That's where this comes in. Okay, this goes into our toilet cassette, all right. So we have a Thetford toilet cassette in here that collects all the waste from the toilet. Okay, on your site you'll find you'll have a service point where you can dispose of this and empty it, all right. So in order to do so, what we need to do is lift the orange handle here and pull the whole unit out. Okay, there we go. You can see she's on wheels on the bottom. So in order to get that to your site rather than carrying it, we can wheel it along a bit like a suitcase at an airport, all right. Then once we're at the service point, we put the handle down and then we're in a position to try and empty our cassette, all right. So we have this orange arm here that we put out to 90 degrees. We take the cap off the end and we have an orange button here. What that does is release the air pressure within inside the unit, and then we can then tip everything out down the service point, okay, and get rid of all the stuff that's sitting inside the cassette. Generally there's a hose pipe at the service point as well, so I would suggest put a bit more water in here, give it a shake around afterwards, make sure you've got all of the nasties out that you need to. Then we need to re-prime the unit. We've primed that with another chemical. It's a blue chemical, and what that does is break everything down inside this unit here, which makes it easy to dispose of when we are emptying it, and also helps keep the smells nice as well. Okay, so please make sure you prime this back properly. Again, the blue chemical you can buy in the shop, and how to dilute that is also on there on the bottle as well. You do have a little measuring cap here, which doubles up as the cap for the cassette. All right, but re-prime that, put your lid back on, and then that slides back into the unit here. All right, and locks back into place. You can see around here on all of our locker doors, we've got a black seal. Obviously that keeps the water out. All of those black seals do need to be kept lubricated. Okay, so I would recommend getting some silicone spray that around the seals on all of your locker doors and everywhere. It keeps them soft and supple, and doing what we need them to do. Again, so that I'd recommend doing that sporadically during the year, but definitely worth doing just to keep those from drying out and splitting. Okay, round the other side, we've got access underneath our bed here. Okay, so we can put stuff in under our bed without having to drag it through our van. There we go, lots of room underneath there. You can see all your carpets in there as well. So if you put your chairs and tables and outdoor furniture and things can go in under here rather than having to drag it through the van. That's pretty useful as well. And we'll lock this up as we go. You can see we've got a motor mover in front of the wheel here. We'll have a look at that in a minute, make sure that we know how that all operates, but we'll do that once we've had a look around inside the van. You see above the door you've got your awning light. Okay, so you can turn that on and off from inside the van. We'll have a look at that in a second, but that is where your awning light is situated. Right, in we come. Now, nice and warm in here. We've had the heating on. Everything is up and running. We've had this running up for a couple of days now. We like to do that just to make sure everything's working correctly. So what have we done? We've leveled our caravan, we've plugged our water in. Okay, we've got our waste barrel ready to collect our wastewater. We now need to start to prime the system with water. So when you get to your van, what you'll find is how we always leave our vans is with our boiler drain valve open. Our boiler drain valve is just down here, okay? And we'll have all of our taps open as well. That is the way we leave our van when we're not using it. Just means that way if anything freezes or anything happens, we can't damage anything inside our van. So that's what we always recommend to do. So first thing, we've got to undo that. So go around and shut all your taps, okay? And then what you need to do is come and shut your drain valve, because if we start trying to pump water around the van with our drain valve open, it's just going to fall straight down to the ground again, okay? So, and if we've got all of our taps open, we turn our pump on, water's just going to eventually just start pouring out of all of our taps in the van, all right? So shut all taps in the kitchen, bathroom and all of that, and then come down and shut your boiler drain valve, which is this orange switch here. So it's shut at the moment. It will be in that position there, but come in, push that all the way through, that shuts the valve, and then we're ready to start turning on our water pumps and everything like that. Our boiler's just sat underneath here basically, so that's operating our hot water and also our heating system as well. Right, so let's come to our main panel. So what you will do when you get to the van, once you've shut your drain valve, shut your taps, you're going to come in, you're going to turn on your switches here. So we've got our main switch here, our light switch here, okay, you can see that does all of our lights in the van, okay. And this one here is just our awning light at the top there, all right? But that's your main master switch, is this one here. So once we've turned that on, we can then wake our screen up by pressing the button at the bottom here, all right? There we go, this is our standby screen, all right? So this is where we will come in and do everything. Now, first things first, what we want to do is prime the system and get our water pump running. So I'm going to come in here and I'm going to press the pump button. There you go, you can see it's illuminated with yellow around the outside. That tells me that the pump is armed. Now, where we've had the van empty of water, basically the boiler's going to be empty, all the pipes are empty, it's just full of air. So we need to replace that air with water so that we have instant access to water from our taps. First things first, you're going to come to your sink and you're going to turn your tap to the hot side and you're going to turn your tap on. You can see I've got a constant flow of water straight away. That's because I've already primed my system. But immediately what you'll get is a lot of coughing, splattering as it sucks the water from your Aquaroll outside. It's then going to pull it into the van. It's then going to come into the bottom of the boiler. It's going to fill up the boiler. It's then going to come out the top of the boiler and find its way to your tap. So we've got to push all of that air out of your taps, okay? So it'll go cough, splutter, splutter, cough. And then water will start spitting out of it. You need to let that happen until you get a nice flow of water like that, okay? Then turn the tap off. That's your hot leg then primed. We're then going to go all the way over to the cold side of things. I'm going to do exactly the same thing. You're going to get some coughing and sputtering. Once that's stopped, this will be much quicker because it's not got to fill a boiler up. Okay, once you've got a steady flow of water like that, I'm going to shut the tap off. All right, I'm then going to go through to my bathroom, do exactly the same thing. Okay, hot tap, cold tap, and then I'll do the same with the shower as well. Okay, but that is now all primed, so there's no air in the system, so we're happy with that. So when we come to use go to use a tap, it's just water there rather than air. Then we want to start heating that water up in that boiler, so that when we want hot water, of course, we've got access to it. So that takes us back to our panel here. Okay, so you can see the picture of a tap that indicates our hot water. So if I press that, it takes us to our hot water screen. Okay, I've got this on already. I've got it on 2 kilowatts of power here. I'm plugged into my mains outside, so I do have access to that power. All right, so that is now slowly heating the water up. As you can see, it's at 58 degrees at the moment, but that will go up to about 60 degrees. I can also put it on eco. All right, so that will just use less power. All right. But I'm not going to do that because I have no need to. I've also got a frost setting, so I can set that as well. So that will just stop things freezing in the tank if I'm plugged in. I can turn the whole system off. Okay, or what I can also do is I can boost my system. So we see we've got boost here. So if I press that, that will throw 3 kilowatts of power at it. Okay, it'll do that for 15 minutes. All right, so that will really heat the water up really quickly. Okay, if I turn that off. If I'm not plugged into mains, if I'm wild camping and I still want hot water, I can still do that by lighting my boiler for 15 minutes on gas. So here you go, you see on my boost thing, if I press that, there you go, 15 minutes worth of gas. That will heat all the water up in 15 minutes in the boiler. Then I can use my shower or whatever I want to do. But that will only work for 15 minutes, okay? All right, so then if you want to use it again, you must remember to come and do that again. So that is how that operates. But I can also do it on both. So if I really wanted to heat that water up really quickly, if I was plugged into mains and I had my gas on, I could do it on both. That's going to really, if I was having back-to-back showers or something like that, I would do that. But generally, I would just leave that. If I'm plugged into mains on a normal site, I would leave it on 2 kilowatts of power, and that's just going to give me hot water and replace it as it goes through the system. Okay. Right. The other side of this is obviously heating. Now, you can see we've got a little picture of a plug there. That tells me I am plugged into mains. It also tells me my battery voltage there as well. Okay, so from my heating point of view, it's very similar actually. I've got access to 1 kilowatt of power, 2 kilowatts of power, or 3 kilowatts of power. Now, depending on what site I'm on, I've got access to different levels of power. So some sites have got lots of power, some don't have as much power. So you need to speak to your site warden to ask what's best to use. You'll soon figure it out, because if you're trying to run 3 kilowatts of power and then you've got your kettle on and you're using a hairdryer, you're going to start tripping things out on your panel down here. We'll have a look at that in a bit, okay? So you'll soon realise, hang on, I'm trying to draw too much current, so I'll turn my heating down to 2 kilowatts, and then I might be able to use my kettle and my hairdryer as well, all right? So just bear that in mind, that it's not every site you'll be able to just whack it up to 3 kilowatts and have done with it. Now again, if I'm wild camping, I don't have access to a main supply. Okay, I can turn that totally off, and I can run my heating on gas. So I just press the flame button there. Okay, that then lights my heating on gas, and then I can just select what temperature I want in the van. All right. And it will do the same. I mean, I can do the same obviously with the electric. I can change the temperature, of course, but there we go. If I don't have mains power, then I can run it on gas. Again, I can run it on a combination of the two. If it's minus 10 outside and it's really cold, I can run it with my gas and my electric, just to really be really efficient and get that heated up nice and quickly. All right. I can also change my fan speed. There we go. All right. So that will all that will do, if I press that, it will just circulate air in the van. There's no heating running, it will just circulate the air. Okay, and I've also got a frost setting as well. All right, that will just stop things freezing in here. If you were at home and you left it plugged in, you could leave it on a frost setting, and that will just keep it above freezing during the winter. But anyway, so all I want at the moment is a bit of heating at say 21 degrees. So I'm going to leave it on 2 kilowatts of power at 21. So just to recap: 1 kilowatt of electric power, 2 kilowatts of electric power, 3 kilowatts, gas on its own, gas and electric together, or off, and then I could put on, just circulate the air, and then I've got my frost setting, and I'll set my temperature here. All right, that's really it. So we know how to use our hot water. Okay, I'm going to take that off, we don't need that. That's on 2 kilowatts of power at the moment, and my heating is at 21 degrees on 2 kilowatts of power. So that's really, really simple. All right, so that's all of that working. So I'll leave that to do what it needs to do and just keep the van nice and warm as it is at the moment. I have just in your book pack here, there is an instruction manual to that. All right, so it tells you how everything works, what every button does. It is really useful. That's page 16 and page 17 of this manual. All right, and there's a bit of troubleshooting in there as well. Okay, so that's a really useful tool. That, so I'm going to leave that in your book pack there for you. Okay. Right, let's have a quick look at the rest of the van now. We'll start in this cupboard here. There's a couple of bits to talk about in here. All right, our radio for a start. So we've got 2 speakers there. Okay. You've got a source button, so you can change between different sources. Right, so we've got aux in here, so you can plug it in with a 3.5mm jack from your phone straight into here if you wish to. Okay, I've got radio. I've got USB in here as well. I've also got a CD player as well, so I can change that with the source. To turn it off, there is an on-off button. I'm sure if I can find it. There we go. Hold down the source button. There we go. That's turned that off. All right. You can take the whole panel off. There's the case for it there. All right, we do that just by pressing that button, and out she comes. All right. TV aerial and booster. All right, so this is a booster for our aerial. You can turn it on and off from the bottom and change the gain. However, just leave it all the way up, in my opinion, and also just leave it on, because that will turn on and off with your mains power. Okay, so all that's doing is boosting the signal from your aerial. We've got our aerial in the down position at the moment. Okay, it's an extendable aerial, so when we're on site, we want to use our TV. We undo the locking nut at the top here. There we go. Push that all the way up. There we go, and just lock that up. That's now extended the aerial over and above the van to get us the best signal. We can move it around using the handle on the bottom. Okay, that will change the plane of the aerial. But yeah, you shouldn't really need to do that. I mean, if you're parked under a tree, you're going to struggle to get signal anyway. Excuse me. But generally, these aerials are very good. But not forgetting, when you have finished with it and you're driving home, let's pull it back down. Otherwise, we're going to be taking out trees and all sorts of things when we're driving along. We don't want to be doing that and damaging our aerial. Okay, so individual reading lights here underneath. They're all individually switched. All right, there and there. And of course, windows all the way around the van. Now, every window that opens has a fly screen, which we can have the windows open and the midges and things can't get in. All right, we also have blackout blinds on every window as well, so we can black it out here at night. And also, of course, we've got curtains. They're more there to soften the van really, but you can belts and braces and put the curtains across as well. This blind is also sort of concertinaed or ratcheted, I should say, so we could, if we got sort of a bit of a low sun, we can have that however we want. We can of course have the fly screens and the blinds down as well, if we've got our windows open. The windows, they work really simply. They've all got 4 handles, 1, 2, 3 and 4, and then the window will open. Okay, of course it won't hold open unless we use these locking nuts up in the corner here. All right, so we can go up, tighten that up, 1 on each side. Okay, and that will hold the window in the position that you want. And then to shut it, we just quite simply undo that and pull it down. All right, so that's how we lock it. We can lock it in like a breather position, I suppose is the way to describe it, between on the B setting here. What we can do then is that gives us some security in the van. We can keep the window shut, but we can keep some airflow going around the van. So it might be a really hot day, for instance, you're leaving the van for the day on site. You still want to obviously keep your windows locked, so you can do that and allow, if you had all those windows open on the breather setting, you still allow quite a nice bit of airflow through the van, so when you get back, if the sun's been on it all day, it's not too warm inside. Right, all the front windows are exactly the same again. Blinds and fly screens. Anything that opens will have a fly screen. For instance, we have a window here that doesn't open. It has a blind but no fly screen. All right. Right in the middle here, we do have a chest of drawers. All right. So we have a coffee table that pulls out. All right. There's a nice shiny surface on top of this. I quite like this. And then to put that away, we just lift it up and push that back away from itself. All right. And then we have 2 drawers as well. One there and one there. I'll put your book pack in this second drawer here, so that's where you'll find that. But that's got all your instruction manuals and everything you need. If what I'm saying doesn't make any sense at all, you can always refer to those. You've got a 230, a domestic plug socket here, 3-pin. Of course, you can use when you're plugged into your mains outside. If you are wild camping, of course, you won't have access to that because you don't have your access to 12-volt power, 240-volt power. Okay. Right underneath here, we have our consumer unit. All right, so this is where sort of the power hits the van really. Of course, we've got 12-volt power running from the battery that you'll put in. So we have blade fuses for that here. Okay, so there we go. That is how that works. So if you need to change a fuse, all right, that is where you would come to do so. All right. We also have our 240-volt breakers here, so very much like at home. So if we are plugged into mains, we need to be able to manage the power coming in. So we've got a breaker here for the charger and the fridge, one for the water heater, one for the boiler, and one for the sockets. All right, and this is our main RCD here. All right, so this is where the power's hitting the van. So it's more for safety more than anything. You'd have one of these at home as well. A little tip for that: if you're struggling, let me get my words out straight. If you're struggling to get mains power into the van, 9 times out of 10 it's actually where you're plugged into rather than your van. So the posts that you plug into on site also have trips like this as well. So if you can't get your domestic plug sockets working, or you can't get things to work on 240-volt, it's worth coming and testing it. So you've got a little button here that says with a T on it, that one there. Okay. That's the test button. If I press that and this trips out and this drops, that tells me there's power coming to the unit, so everything's fine from where I'm plugged into. But if I press that and nothing happens and this stays up, it means I've got no power coming to the unit. So the problem isn't with your van, it's going to be with where you're plugged into. So it's worth going and checking your trip switch on your post at site as well. All right. Right, there we go. That's that. Moving on around, we've got obviously storage over the top. Just like to open everything to make sure I'm not missing anything. We have our kitchen here, 2 domestic plug sockets, 3-pin plug sockets here that you can use for your kettle and your toaster or whatever you want to do. Obviously, making sure you're plugged into mains when you do it. We've got our main kitchen light here as well. Okay, lots of storage up and over and above. We've got our mug holders here as well, and cup holders, and plate and mug holders in there. All right. We've talked about our taps, a mixer tap here, so we've got hot and cold running water. All right. I mean, this water has been heating up for a while, so that should be nice and warm. In fact, I can't even touch it. That's how warm it is. So that is how that works. We're going to teach you how to use the tap. Cutlery drawer. And then our cupboard down here as well. Now we know where all our boiler stuff is. We've also got a couple of gas isolators here. All right, if you one's for the cooker, I think, and one's for the hot water. So that's where your isolators are. If you do need to isolate, you shouldn't need to, but if you do need to isolate a certain piece of equipment, that's where you'd come to do so. You've also got your draining board and your sink cover here as well, so just makes it a little bit more preparation space or draining space rather than putting things to dry straight on the side. Fridge, right, domestic 3-way fridge. Okay, that works on either 240-volt when we're plugged into mains. If we don't have access to mains, it will run on gas. And when we're towing and we're behind our car, as long as we've got the right connection and the right power coming out of the car, we can also run it from the alternator of the car while we're driving as well. Okay, so it's set up on and off switches there. Okay, picture of a plug that tells me that we're plugged into mains, and that is what we're running on at the moment. Okay, so when you're on site, if you're plugged into mains, that's what you'll probably run it on, because why would you use your gas when you can use the power you've already paid for? If you are wild camping or you can't get access to 240-volt power, we can run it on gas. Press that button twice. There we go. That illuminates the gas sign. You'll hear click, click, click in the fridge, and then it will fire up, but that will then run the fridge on the gas side of things. I'm not plugged into a car here, so if I do that, it will alarm and tell me there's something wrong. That's because I'm not plugged into anything, all right? So that is your alarm to tell you something's not working. So if you were plugged into mains and for some reason all your mains started playing up, it would alarm you saying, hang on, I'm not working anymore, so you better switch it over to gas. Again, if you're running on gas, and you ran out of gas, this would then start alarming to tell you it's not running on gas, and then you'd be able to go and change your bottle or switch over to mains if that's what you needed to do. Change the temperature of the fridge by pressing the thermometer button, funnily enough. All right, so that's how that operates as well. Inside the fridge, to open it, we press down on there and that opens the fridge. Nice and cool in here. We've had this on for a couple of days, as I say, with the rest of the van, just making sure everything's working, so that's nice and cool. And in here we have our Our freezer compartment, again, nice and cool. We always like to check everything's working properly. So there we go, nice cup of water that's now frozen solid. So we know that's working well. Now we can test our hot water by melting the ice. There we go. Right, so let's shut that. You can see that steaming away in there, so that's working nicely. There we go, we've nearly got rid of all that ice now. There you go, that's how hot the water is. Okay, right, looking at our tap, our cooker, sorry. We have a glass lid to the cooker. When we're travelling, make sure that our lid is all the way down, okay? It rattles around and bounces around if it's up, and the amount of times we've seen these, there you go, that ice is gone now. The amount of times we've seen these shattered on the floor, all right? So make sure they're all the way down. But again, when you are using it, make sure it's up, okay? For the same reason, it gets too hot, it can shatter. So we have an electric hot plate, okay, that is and we have 3 gas burners. So if you're plugged into mains electric, you can use this. You might as well, if you know, so again, you paid for the electric already. So we turn that on using the end knob here, okay. You can tell it's on by the light coming on there, all right. So that's how that operates. From the gas side of stuff, that's our igniter button in the middle. I won't teach you to suck eggs, but we know how to light a gas hob. Turn it on, push it down, and there we go, there she is working. Okay, and the same on the other ones. There we go. Right, obviously when you finish using gas, make sure that everything's turned off, okay? We do have a carbon monoxide alarm on board, okay, which is here. And also our fire alarm, which is here. Test buttons of which are underneath there, and also there as well. Separate oven and grill, okay? There's your grill in there. That lights exactly the same way. There we go. Okie dokie. And opening this one as well, push it down. There we go, and there's our oven lit. Then we just put it onto whatever gas mark we want, and we're cooking. Right, underneath here we'll have another couple of isolators. There we go, fridge and cooker. All right, and also a plug socket there, but that is for our hot plate. All right, that's what that is there for as well. Okay, around the other side you can see we have a microwave. All right, now I'm not going to teach you to use a microwave, it's just a domestic microwave. But what I will tell you is, again, when travelling, remove the plate, okay, take that out. I'm going to put that in your book pack here, so that's where you'll find it. Again, quite a heavy plate in there, so if that comes loose and flies across the van, this bounces around quite a lot in here when you're driving. Just be aware of that, never travel with it in there. Plug socket for our microwave, domestic plug socket there, so bear in mind you can only use your microwave of course when you are plugged into mains. Down here we've got 2 domestic plug sockets, all right. We've got a 12-volt socket, and we've also got our TV aerial here as well, okay. So that's where you have your TV here, and you'll be watching it from your lounge over there. Lots more storage, okay. There we go. We've got a skylight over and above us. The way these operate, again, blinds, fly screens. This one works purely by pulling this down and pulling it back. That will open it, all right. And you've got like a ratchet system, and you can push it all the way down, making sure of course when you are shutting them, you're shutting them properly, and also before you get on the road, making sure all your skylights and all your windows are shut as well. This one opens slightly differently. We've got a big button here, press that down, pull it down and away from us, okay. Making sure that's shut properly when we're finished. We can also lock it into some different positions, and we've got blinds and fly screens. Right, sort of into the bedroom area now. Big wardrobe area, lots of drawers underneath. Okay, we've also got a concertina door here. Okay, that's pinned back at the moment using this strap, but that pulls across to give us some privacy in our bedroom. Okay, just separates it off a little bit, especially if you've got guests staying in your front, in the front section of your van. Right, let's lock that back up. We've also got another light switch here. We've also got a TV aerial and another plug socket here as well. So potentially you could put a TV bracket on the wall here if you wanted to. That'd be up to you as to how you might want to look at doing that. Excuse me. We also have our bed here in day mode at the moment. What that means is it's pushed back so we can nice and easy, nice and access to get around the van. Okay. When it comes to going to sleep, we pull that out. Okay, we pull the mattress out with it. Okay, and that drops in over the back Okay, and then we've got a full size bed going all the way across. All right, we can still get around, but it's a little bit trickier, so that's why we are able to push it away. All right, it's also on gas struts, so we can get underneath it for storage. All your carpets are under there, as you can see. All right, got a little 2-foot 30-volt 240-volt plug socket down the bottom, and we've also got more wardrobe space, and of course your individual reading lights and little shelves for your cups of tea there as well. All right. Okay, moving into the bathroom. We have a sliding door for the bathroom, and we have a light switch here. Sliding door, all right. Locks into place like so, and then we can open it. It's like a twist handle operation, and we push that all the way back. So I would recommend when travelling that we keep this shut. All right, like so. Okay, looking into the bathroom, here's our toilet. Now, the toilet you use in exactly the same way. That is on a bit of a swivel, so depending on how long your legs are, all right. If we think from outside, we saw we had our flush tank that's sitting in the top of this, and our cassette is sitting in underneath here. Okay, so you use the toilet in exactly the same way as you would use any other toilet. All right, and then what we would do is then, of course, flush the toilet. Flush is sitting on the top here. All right, you can hear the pump running there. All right, but it's empty, so I'm not going to keep running that dry. That will then fire your pink water all the way in here, making it smell nice at the same time. Okay, then once that's filled up, or as much as you need it to, we have our lever underneath here. So we push that to one side, that opens up the gate, everything drops down into the cassette, and then we push this across all the way over, making sure it's all the way over to create that seal again. That shuts the gate into the cassette, keeping all the smells and all the nasties inside the cassette, and everything in here is nice and fresh. All right. We have a little LED light that will light up when it's time to change to empty your cassette, so don't ignore that, otherwise you might end up with a bit of a mess if it overflows. Okay. We know about taps. Okay, so we've got another mixer tap in here. We've already primed that, and of course we've got our shower here as well. Okay, so that just goes into here, and that's again just a mixer tap down the bottom. Our shower door is held back when we're driving. Of course, we want to make sure everything is locked away when we're driving. That quite simply lifts up, and that allows our shower door to open and to shut. There we go. Again, the skylight in here works the same way on that ratchet system, and we've got blinds and we've got fly screens in here as well. Okay. Right, that's pretty much it in terms of how everything operates and how we set it up. We kind of need to look at the opposite of that now. So we've been on holiday, we've had a lovely time, it's time to go home. So we need to start shutting our van down, ready for the road, or ready for leaving it laid up for the winter potentially. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to come in, I'm going to start turning off all of my electrics. Okay, so I'm just going to turn all of my switches off at the top there. That's shut off my main, shut off my awning light, and all the rest of it. Okay, as you can see, everything's turned off. The only thing that hasn't turned off is my fridge. The reason for that is on a separate circuit, because potentially I might be plugging this into my car and running it on the battery section for the way home. I'm not doing that today, so I'm going to turn my fridge off. Okay, like so. When you're leaving your fridge for any kind of period of time, we would leave it on the breather setting. Okay, so we have a little switch here that we push that all the way out. Okay, that will then allow us to lock the fridge, leaving a gap, leaving it open. Okay, so that it can breathe, and that stops it smelling. All right. Now we need to start draining all of our water out of the system. Now we know where our boiler drain valve is, so we're going to come to that, and we're going to open that orange switch there. There we go. That's going to then start dropping all the water to ground from inside the boiler. We're then going to go and open all of our taps like we said earlier. That's how you'll find your van when you get to it. In between hot and cold, that allows the air to go through the system of the hot leg and also the cold leg. So nice in the middle is where we want that to be. Okay, I'm going to do that there. I'm also going to do it in the toilet, in the bathroom, So in between hot and cold. And I'm going to do that in the shower as well. Okay, you can hear all that water starting to drain back down through the pipes and allow the air in the system. That way, of course, if we've got water trapped in that system, and for instance, one example, the water freezes, that water's going to expand. The amount of times we've seen cracked taps or damaged sort of push fits, or or pipes or anything like that, then the next time you come to plumb your van up, you've got a bit of a water leak inside your van. That's not what we want. All right, so always turn off open your taps and open your boiler drain valve. Very, very important. Okay, right, now what we're going to do is we're going to go outside and start detaching everything from the van. Okay, so first things first, what we're going to do is come to our gas locker. All right, and we're going to turn our gas bottle off and make sure it's strapped in, because we're going to be on the road. So we'll turn that off. The gas bottle's strapped in, so we're happy with that. But in fact, this is my test gas bottle, so I'm actually going to remove it from the van, and that will show us how we do that. Again, as I said, this is on an opposite thread, so hand tight. All I would do is undo it using my hand. Not too difficult because it's not too tight. There we go. Out she comes. I always just like to check the rubber seal, make sure there's no cracks or anything in it. All right, there we go. That's all fine. And I'm going to remove this gas bottle from the van. Right, I'm now going to come and empty my aqua roll and take my pump out. All right, just lift the cover up, pull that out. Out it comes, and we give that a shake off. All right, we're going to put that in the front locker of the van, so we know that's where you'll find that. I then stow away my my aqua roll, stow away my waste master. Okay, get rid of all my pipes and everything. I'm then going to detach my mains lead. Now my colleague's already detached it from the wall, so you want to detach it from your power source first. That way we're not walking around with a live cable in our hands. All right, and then you're going to stow away your cable wherever you're going to put that. Again, this is my test cable, so I'm just going to hang it back up over here where it belongs. Okay, that's fine. Now what I'm going to do is take up all of my legs. Now I showed you where your handle was, and I told you can get a drill attachment. This is what we use, because otherwise it'll take too long. There's one. Two. If you are using a drill, try not to go up too far with it, otherwise you'll find if you need to get them back down again with your hands, it can be a bit more difficult. Okay, so that's that. We'll just put this out of the way here for the minute. Right, okay, now we're going to have a look at our motor mover and how that works, but before we do that, we'll have a quick look at our what all of our hitch stuff is about here. Okay, I'm going to shut my gas locker. So we'll do a full hitch up with you when you pick the van up, so don't worry too much for the minute. Just a couple of things you need to know really. Firstly, this is our handbrake, so when it's up, that's the handbrake on the van. When it's down, that's the handbrake off. From an electrics point of view, when we're plugging into the back of the car, we're running on a 13-pin electrics here, okay? So you'll need to be aware of that if you're having a tow bar fitted, so you have the right electrics. If not, to make sure you've got the right adapter for it. So it's 13-pin electrics. This here is our jockey wheel. This is how we lower and raise the van when we're leveling and also getting it onto our car as well. You have your hitch lock on here, all right? So that's an insurance approved hitch lock. Your keys are on here. That's really simple to use. We'll show you that when you pick the van up. The main thing to talk about is your tow ball really. This is an Alco hitch head stabilizer, okay? So you will need an Alco compatible tow ball. It works the same as any other tow ball. There's no real differences apart from the spacing between the car and the tow ball, and also the height of it. It's quite a big unit that it's got to sit on top of the ball here, all right? So that's why it's slightly different spacings. You can use you can still put your other trailers on it, but it does need to be a tow ball compatible with Alco. If you're having a new tow bar put on, when you get here, you do need to make sure that the new paint on the actual ball itself has been sanded off. We want bare metal. The reason for that is this stabiliser has got friction pads in it, which when we push the top down, it pushes against the tow ball. And that stops it twitching and going out of fashion, okay? So if you've got a smooth surface, it just doesn't work. Simple as that, really. So we want a bare metal surface. Again, if you've got an existing tow ball that's got grease on it from another trailer, no grease allowed, otherwise we're going to ruin you'll ruin your friction pads, okay? So clean it off with brake cleaner to make sure it's a nice clean surface for this to go onto. That's very important. We've also got Alco trailer control as well, which is an independent braking system for your van. Okay, so that's working belts and braces with your head stabilizer, just to keep you in check for safety reasons when we're towing. So that's very, very good as well. Right, let's have a quick look at our motor mover then. So you need 3 tools for your motor mover, and you'll find them inside your doorway. All right, isolating key, remote control, and engaging tool. All right, so we're going to need all 3 of those. But the first thing we're going to need is our engaging tool, which is the spanner looking thing here. All right, so we're going to extend that to its full extent. That gives us a nice bit of purchase, because what we need to do is push the rollers of this motor mover against the tyre. All right, that's what's going to move it around. So if I just put that there for a minute, so this goes on here, and then I'm going to push that all the way on. All right, it does take some effort. Keep your fingers out of the way. There we go. That's on there. Okay. What we do want to make sure, of course, is that we put it on both sides. There is a bar going across, but we always like to just double check. Yeah, there we go, we're happy with that. Then I'm going to put my isolator key in. Now that goes in where your mains lead was, all right? So that goes in there. The reason we have it there, it just means we can't try and drive off with our motor mover on while we're plugged into mains, all right? So that's now turned the battery, the motor mover on via the battery here, okay? Now that that's engaged, we can remove our handbrake, all right? Please don't try and remove your handbrake before you've engaged the rollers onto your wheels, because that's now holding the weight of the caravan on the rollers. So if you were on any kind of a slope and you took your handbrake off, you're going to be chasing the caravan down the road. Not a good way to start or end your holiday, if I'm honest. So that's very important. Rollers on first, then take your handbrake off. Now we're going to turn on our handset. All right, this is our handset here. The 2 green buttons in the middle. Press those together. That's going to activate your handset. There you go, we look nice steady green light, and that's what we need. Now I'm going to turn this round. If you see, if I turn it upside down, you can see I've got the shape of a caravan. So I know that that way is forwards. So if I press forwards, okay, it's not going to break any land speed records, but you can be pinpoint accurate with it. It will pretty much turn on its own axis. All right. Again, always walking around the caravan while we're doing it, make sure we're not running anybody over or hitting anything, of course, more importantly. Well, I'm not sure which one's more important, but anyway, always keeping an eye out to what we're doing. But yeah, really good tool, really useful for getting it on your pitch, on your driveway, onto the back of your car. Saves manhandling the thing anyway. Right, so once we're in position and where we want it to be, first things we're going to do is we're going to put our handbrake on. Again, really important, because we don't want to have any rolling on the caravan at all, especially if we're on any kind of a slope. I'm then going to turn off my handset. All right, so just turn off one, press one of those, turn off, there we go, the light's gone out. I'm now going to take my isolator key out as well. Put those back in the doorway so that you know where those are when you need them, because generally the motor mover is the first thing you use. That's why we like to leave them in the doorway there for you. But now my handbrake's on, we'll double check that again. Yeah, now I can release my motor mover. So we go the opposite way this time, and it does come off with a bit of a snap, so do be careful. All right, so there it is, lift, okie dokie, and there she is. And I'll put that back in the doorway, ready for when you guys come to use it. All right, right, that's it really for your Avante. I hope that's been useful. We are on the end of the phone if you need anything. All your instruction manuals are in the front there for you as well. But look, enjoy your caravan, and thanks for watching.